to incur them in spite of all of our caution. A certain lightness of heart seems healthier than this excessive nervousness on their behalf. At any rate, it seems the fittest thing for the empiricist philosopher. Would he call himself an empiricist? I disown empiricists. And now, after all this introduction, let us go straight at our question. I have said, and now repeat it, that not only as a matter of fact do we find our passional nature influencing us in our opinions, but there are some options between opinions in which this influence must be regarded both as an inevitable and as a lawful determinant of our choice. Now, he asserts that our passional nature interferes, influences our opinions. If that's true, then we should be able to take note of that. If it's true that we can take note of that, which he's doing here, then we ought to be able to explain or neutralize that influence. In other words, we ought to be able to be objective. He says, however, following that up, now, remember, if he's able to point that out, that means we're able to point it out, right? That means we're able to point it out and observe it. If he says we can observe it, he's saying we can observe it. We can see then what he's talking about. If we could do that, hadn't we ought to be able to understand and neutralize the effect? He continues, but that there are some options between opinions in which this influence must be regarded both as an inevitable and as a lawful determinant of our choice. Inevitable. So he's saying we just can't escape the fact that emotion, that our passional nature will intervene and cause us to believe or disbelieve things. He's saying there's no way around that. That's definitely, he says, the case. Our passional nature influences our beliefs. He says, he used the word inevitable and a lawful determinant of our choice. Lawful I take here to mean I take it to mean natural law rather than common law or legal code. I fear here that some of you, my hearers, will begin to scent danger and lend an inhospitable ear. Oh, we got inhospitable a bit ago, sir. 2 first steps of passion you have indeed had to admit as necessary. We must think so as to avoid dupery, and we must think so as to gain truth. But the surest path to those ideal consummations you will probably consider is from now onward to take no further passional step. Well, of course I agree as far as the facts will allow. Wherever the option between losing truth and gaining it is not momentous, we can throw the chance of gaining truth away, and at any rate save ourselves from any chance of believing falsehood by not making up our mind at all till objective evidence has come. It makes me wonder, what the hell would he define as objective evidence? In scientific questions, this is almost always the case, and even in human affairs in general, the need of acting is seldom so urgent that a false belief to act on is better than no belief at all. How would you know if it's a false belief, though? Law courts, indeed, have to decide on the best evidence attainable for the moment, because a judge's duty is to make law as well as to ascertain it. And, as a learned judge once said to me, few cases are worth spending much time over. The great thing is to have them decided on any acceptable principle and got out of the way. But in our dealings with objective nature, we obviously are recorders, not makers of the truth. I mean, okay. Quoting on that. In our dealings with objective nature, we are the recorders, not the makers of truth. You got that? He says there's an objective, independent, real reality. Now, the assertion that I was grossly misread on Mr. James, that he actually upholds a real reality. Now, I don't know what the hell their assertion is, why I misread him. But William James doesn't believe that you can just believe anything you want. Does he? He does believe in an independent reality, doesn't he? That is not an inconsistency or misunderstanding in my case. That is a severe contradiction in William James' statements. That makes him an ass. It doesn't make me it doesn't mean that I don't understand his theory just because his theory is full of contradictions and can't be consistently applied. Anyways, continuing. In our dealings with objective nature, we obviously are recorders, not makers of the truth. And decisions for the mere sake of deciding promptly and getting to the next business would be wholly out of place. Throughout the breadth of physical nature, facts are what they are quite independently of us, and seldom is there any such hurry about them that the risks of being duped by believing a premature theory need to be faced. The questions here are always trivial options. The hypotheses are hardly living, at any rate not living for us spectators. The choice between believing truth or falsehood is seldom forced. The attitude of skeptical balance is therefore the absolutely wise one if we would escape mistakes. What difference indeed does it make to most of us whether we have or have not a theory of the Roentgen rays? Whether we believe or not, that's the X-ray nowadays, whether we believe or not in mind stuff, or have a conviction about the causality of conscious states, it makes no difference. Such options are not forced on us. On every account, it is better not to make them, but still keep weighing reasons pro et contra with an indifferent hand. Now, on what basis, on what evaluative basis would he say it's better not to make such decisions at all? Better not to. And it just shows you his complete ignorance, his total ignorance of what thought is. It's better to suspend judgment on these things at all. It's not necessary to look into them. Some things can't be decided. The evidence isn't in yet. Other things, there's enough evidence there that anyone who's gone over the evidence and doesn't believe it can be dismissed as a kook, an irrational, and not talked to anymore. So for him to say, it's bizarre. It's as if he thinks that it would be totally legitimate for a person to decide on one side or the other of this controversial issue, and he's just warning against that. He's saying you shouldn't choose sides. You know what? You should choose sides if the evidence points you there. He's saying it's better not to make judgments about these things or hurry about them. You should if the evidence points to it. You know what? That's 5 pages of a 10-page essay. Suffice it to say, I did not severely misunderstand William James. William James severely misunderstood philosophy.